Alright, what is up my friends, guys and girls? And I say girls because we just crossed 9% female viewership on the channel. So that is pretty awesome actually. Today we're going to be working on the sloppy trans brake. It's called quite a few different things. Sloppy trans brake, blah 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 blah. Sloppy trans brake, sloppy third gear spool mod, a couple other different things probably, but got to give full credit to Matt Happel and Sloppy Mechanics. Came up with this idea. I think it was like 2013 I saw on the forums that he was finally testing this thing. So we're gonna try it, basically just using a relay, gonna set it up by the computer, and essentially we're using the relay to use a button to activate the 2-3 shift solenoid on the 4L80 transmission and kind of use it like a trans brake. Help with the launch. We're gonna hook it up, test it, see how it works. So essentially what we need to do is manipulate the 2-3 shift solenoid circuit in a way that we can manually apply it with a button. So what we have here is a 5-pin relay, which means it has a normally open and a normally closed circuit. So the black wire and the blue wire are the normally closed circuit, meaning that it's going to pass through all the time unless you activate the relay. So what we're going to do is use the black and the blue wire. We're going to splice the 2-3 shift solenoid wire at the PCM, split it, connect one end here, one end here. So it's going to run kind of like a normal circuit. When the computer activates it, it's going to run through the blue and black wire and control the 2-3 shift solenoid on the transmission. These two wires over here, these are going to go to a ground circuit. One is going to be just to ground the coil inside the relay, and the other is going to be to actually pass the ground signal to the transmission. So this blue and pink wire, this is the normally open circuit on the relay. So when we send a positive signal to here, the yellow wire is constantly grounded. When we send a positive signal to the white wire, it's going to activate the coil, and then it will send a ground signal through the pink wire to the blue wire, back to the 2-3 shift solenoid, and activate the trans brake with the button. I do have a little wiring diagram here. This is for a green plug, but this also works the same with the red plug from what I understand. So we're going to look at pin 47. It is a yellow-black wire, 2-3 shift solenoid, valve control, AT. I think that stands for automatic taco getter. So here is the PCM wiring. This wire right here is number 47. If you're this far in the process, you probably understand this already, but I just want to show it. These holes are actually numbered. So this starts at 41, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 right here. Number 47, yellow, black wire. So I'm going to cut this thing and splice in the relay. Alright, so what I did here now is I took the two wires that are going to be grounds. One is to ground and trigger the transmission, and one is a ground for the coil. So I put both of those over to this number 1 ground pin on the blue plug. There's a few different grounds on the harnesses. I just grabbed one of those grounds. And then for the trigger wire that's going to trigger the coil, this is going up to a switch, a push button switch, and then I just tied it into this number 19 wire on the blue plug. It's a pink 12-volt ignition wire. So that's triggered in there. And then the blue and the black wires are what and the blue and the black wires here are the ones that I cut for the transmission. So this one will constantly pass through from the blue to the white. So when it normally engages third gear, it will be able to do it through the relay without the relay activated, and then when I push the button, it'll pass this ground to the solenoid and command third gear whenever I want it to. And I just ran this loom up here to this little push button dealy. So I'm going to put the key in the ignition, because that's powered on a 12-volt key-on source. You'll be able to hear the relay click when I push this button. And you can actually hear underneath the truck. You can hear the 2-3 shift solenoid engaging when I do that. So that should be okay. Now I just gotta test it and delete the code so the transmission doesn't freak out. I should add that the 12 volt positive in the ground that I spliced into on the PCM harness, I didn't actually cut those wires. I just stripped the casing off, leave the wire intact, and then I usually split the wires apart and put the wire through and wrap it around. So don't actually cut it, because if you want to remove it, then you'll have a cut wire that you have to splice back together. So with this one, all we'll have to do is tape back over it if we want to remove those wires, because the wire's not actually cut, and then you don't run the risk of the circuit actually breaking when you don't want it to. But the 2-3 shift solenoid wire does need to be cut, because you actually need to split the circuit so you can change which direction the signal is coming from. All right, you guys are gonna get spoiled today with a little outside shot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna foot brake it until the wheels spin or the truck pushes forward without the trans brake button on, and then I will do it after, and I'm gonna scan it at the same time so we can look at the scan difference and see if we can build any boost. I know I can't build boost without the button, so let's see what we got. Okay, so this is the scan of when I tested the trans brake, the video that you saw from outside the truck. So this little blip of this blue line right here is when the truck actually pushed forward when I was doing it without the button pressed. So you can see 1 mile an hour happened at 29% throttle and 67 kPa. So that's not even anywhere close to boost, and it happened at 3,200 RPM. So this is typically around where I was launching from before. And I'd like to launch actually in a couple pounds of boost and a little higher RPM. So let's check out with the button. This is the same scan, just a little bit later in time. So here, this big spike is the mile an hour that you saw on the burnout. So I actually hit 89 miles an hour on the burnout there. If I can find the 9, there you go. 89 miles an hour on the burnout. But when this thing finally started, was 1 mile an hour was 100 kPa. So basically what I was doing in the truck, I was watching for 100 kPa, and then I released the button. So I chose to release the button just because it went over 100, so it's starting to get into boost. And this was at 36% throttle, so I was able to get about 10% more on the throttle position and almost 3,400 RPM here. So I did test it one other time off camera, and I was able to get to about 116, almost 120 kPa, and it still wasn't pushing the truck forward or doing anything else. So I can definitely go above 4,500 RPM and gain into a couple pounds of boost, and that's a lot better. So that should work for quite a bit better launch than I was getting before.